13%.
Yep.
If you are starting a high-tech company today, you have a 13% chance of being completely wiped off the map within your first 5 years.
Just gone.
Not acquired, not pivoted into something else. Gone. They vanish into absolute zero.
And you know the craziest part?
Right.
It's not the money.
Right. And this is the fact that should just make every single founder listening to this stop dead in their tracks.
Yeah.
Your cause of death will not be a lack of funding.
Yeah.
Your product failing won't be what kills you. The coroner is going to write exactly one thing on the toe tag of your company. It was the people in your phone book.
It is the ultimate blind spot. I mean, we are just culturally obsessed with this lone wolf genius in a garage myth.
Oh, totally. The Silicon Valley lie.
Exactly. The solitary visionary who builds a better mousetrap and just, assumes the world will be a path to their door. We literally worship capital. We think a massive seed round is a suit of armor.
But it's not.
No. The data reveals a terrifying reality. Capital in isolation is just a heavier, more expensive coffin. Survival is not a financial calculation. It is a ruthless ecological war.
So today, the mission of this deep dive is complete destruction. We are tearing apart that heavily marketed lie.
Tearing it down to the studs.
We are looking at a scientific microscope applied to an entire industry. Researchers Joel Baum, Tony Calabrese, and Brian Silverman. They took a scalpel to 142 Canadian biotechnology startups.
And they tracked them relentlessly from 1991 to 1996.
511 separate observations of their lifespans. They monitored every pulse, every dollar, every single patent.
They wanted to see the skeletal structure of success and failure. Like, imagine a blank, stark, white canvas. In the center, a massive gray 13% circled in blood red with a survival curve just plummeting straight down. That is the visual of this industry.
It's a bloodbath.
It is. And these researchers didn't rely on venture capitalists giving TED Talks about their gut feelings. They deployed hard math designed to ruthlessly eliminate coincidences. They stripped away market shifts, founder age, initial bank balances.
To find what?
To isolate the raw, terrifying impact of a company's social network on the literal day they incorporate.
Okay, hold on. I need to push back on this fundamental premise right out of the gate.
Go for it.
You're saying startup survival is like a biological imperative.
Yeah.
And that a well-funded, isolated company will die significantly faster than a resource-poor, highly networked one.
That is exactly what the data says.
So you are telling me that if I invent a literal cure for a disease or, I don't know, a revolutionary AI model today, my product matters less than my day one contacts list?
Yes.
That makes zero business sense. The market rewards the best product.
The market does not reward the best product. The market rewards the most legible, integrated organism.
But what does that mean? Legible.
Think about it mechanically. When you launch a startup, you suffer from what biologists might call the liability of newness. You are an unknown entity.
Right, nobody knows me.
You have no track record, no established routines, no verified quality control. To the broader ecosystem, your brilliant product isn't a breakthrough. It is a massive radioactive risk.
Because nobody knows if I'm a fraud. I mean, Theranos ruined it for everyone, essentially. I am a
No, worse than a ghost. You are a potential liability. If a hospital buys your untested biotech device and it fails, careers end.
Lawsuits happen.
Exactly. If an enterprise integrates your unproven AI API and it hallucinates, they lose millions. This is why isolated capital fails.
Yeah.
You can have $50 million in the bank, but if you have no network, you have no borrowed legitimacy.
Borrowed legitimacy. I like that.
The day one network, the exact configuration of alliances you establish the moment you incorporate, it acts as an irreversible brand.
So you basically borrow their immune system.
You skip the dangerous adolescence of a startup entirely. By linking yourself to established players, you instantly project the stability, the routines, and the resources of a veteran organization.
That makes sense.
The researchers proved that the initial alliance network overcomes that initial vulnerability with startling speed. It's the difference between planting a solitary sapling in a hurricane versus grafting a branch onto a 200-year-old oak tree.
The scale of this study is what makes that conclusion inescapable for me. Because they tracked rigorous accounts over 5 years.
Yeah, they didn't mess around.
They didn't just look at whether the company survived. They measured the revenue growth trajectory. They measured research and development spending. They tracked hiring. And most importantly in the tech space, they tracked granted patents.
They isolated the cause and effect perfectly. They solved the chicken or egg problem.
Which is what?
People always assume a startup gets great allies because they already have a great product. The math proved the exact reverse.
Wait, really?
Yes. The specific architecture of the network actually caused the innovation. The allies forced the startup to become great.
Okay, which brings us to the first brutal reality of this data. Not all allies are angels.
Definitely not.
On day one, a startup essentially stares down a survival combination lock. They have to choose among 9 specific types of organizations to partner with.
Right, you've got direct rivals, massive pharmaceutical companies, universities, government labs, marketing firms.
Pick the right combination, you unlock massive growth. Pick the wrong one, and you bleed out.
And this is where human instinct fundamentally betrays the founder, because almost every founder reaches for the most prestigious, authoritative badge they can find.
Okay, let's talk about the government lab, because this is the ultimate face slapper of the study.
It really is.
Why does allying with the most authoritative, incredibly well-respected, heavily funded government research laboratory cause a startup's revenue to fall off an absolute cliff?
It's a trap.
Picture a downward gray arrow pointing from the government lab directly to the startup's revenue line, circled in red. It is a massive negative pull. But how? Government grants are non-dilutive funding.
Free money.
Exactly. Every founder I know would kill for free money where they don't have to give up equity. Are you seriously telling me that free money is a death sentence?
I am telling you that free money comes with a lethal change in your biological pacing. Let's walk through the mechanics of this. You are a biotech startup. You secure a massive partnership with a national government health laboratory.
Sounds amazing so far.
Initially, it feels like a triumph. Your scientists get access to world-class equipment, your press release looks incredible, but you are forgetting the primary goal of your organism. Your goal is survival through commercialization. You need cash flow from a viable product.
Right. I have a burn rate. I have investors demanding a return. I have 24 months of runway.
Well, the government lab does not have a burn rate. The government lab cannot go bankrupt. Their mandate is not commercialization.
So what is their mandate?
Pure, fundamental, deep horizon research. They are incentivized to explore the deepest, most uncertain scientific questions without any urgency for an exit strategy.
Oh, I see the trap.
The moment you ally with them, your internal routines begin to warp to match theirs. Your scientists start chasing fascinating, open-ended biological questions instead of finalizing the specific, marketable compound.
Because they're hanging out with government scientists all day.
Exactly. The government bureaucracy slows down your decision-making. You get pulled into an endless loop of discovery. You become an eternal science project, not a functioning business.
You adopt the pacing of an immortal creature while you are actively bleeding to death.
That is perfectly stated. The data shows this definitively. Startups that allied with government labs saw fantastic R&D intensity, but their actual revenue growth was actively suppressed.
Because they never actually shipped a product.
Right. The scientific uncertainty inherent in government partnerships drags down your ability to finalize a product and hit the market. It is a toxic angel. It looks like a halo, but it operates as a financial anchor.
Wow. Okay, so if the government is a toxic angel that suffocates revenue, what is the inverse? Who actually saves the startup?
The ultimate multiplier effect resides downstream. Massive pharmaceutical companies and specialized marketing firms. Allying with them is the ultimate survival code.
Give me the stark visual on this. How big of a difference are we talking about?
Picture 2 growth curves. One is a flat, struggling line of an isolated startup. The other shoots upward exponentially. A startup, allied with a large pharmaceutical company, produces 2.5 times the innovation measured in granted patents compared to an isolated firm.
2.5 times.
2.5 times.
Wait, let's break that down mechanically. You're saying just having a pharma giant on my day one contact list means my actual internal scientists sitting in my lab somehow invent 2.5 times more stuff.
Yes.
How does a social connection literally change the intelligence output of my employees?
Because a massive downstream partner provides 2 vital ingredients: clinical capital and commercial guardrails. Imagine your scientists are alone in a room. They could research 10,000 different protein folding combinations.
They waste years exploring dead ends because they don't know what the market actually wants.
They're throwing darts in the dark. Now introduce the pharmaceutical partner. They don't just bring a massive check to fund the lab. They bring a highly calibrated spotlight.
They tell you where to throw the dart.
They say, stop looking at those 9,000 proteins. We have a specific market gap for this exact type of cardiovascular therapeutic. Focus all your energy here.
Well, that changes everything.
They give you access to their proprietary clinical trial data. They tell you exactly what regulatory hurdles you need to clear.
So it's directed innovation. It's not just playing in a theoretical sandbox. It's building a highly specific weapon for a specific pre-mapped war.
Yes. Pharma partnerships drive a double growth engine of both R&D spending and actual patent output. But the ecosystem requires balance. While pharma gives you the guardrails, universities give you the raw ammunition.
Wait, I thought universities would be like government labs. Slow, purely academic, totally immortal.
There is a critical difference. Universities sit upstream. They generate the cutting-edge, raw scientific knowledge. The data reveals that university alliances don't necessarily increase the raw number of patents, but they significantly push up the revenue generated by the patents you do have.
Why is that? What is the mechanical difference there?
Quality and novelty. A university gives your scientists access to the absolute bleeding-edge theoretical frameworks. So when you do patent something with the help of a pharma partner's guardrails, the underlying science from the university makes that patent incredibly novel and highly lucrative.
You combine the upstream brilliance of the university with the downstream distribution muscle of the pharma firm.
Exactly.
Okay, so if I'm a founder listening to this, sitting in my garage, applying this logic to my modern AI or SaaS startup,
Yeah.
my brain goes to a very simple brute force conclusion. If downstream partners give me guardrails and upstream partners give me raw tech, and they exponentially increase my output, I should just collect alliances like trading cards.
Oh, no?
I should sign MOUs with 5 different big tech companies, 3 different universities, and 4 different marketing firms.
Yeah.
Just hoard relationships.
And that assumption will kill your company faster than complete isolation.
Really. Which opens up one of the most counterintuitive warnings from the entire study. Wall Street analysts actively warn investors to run away from startups that have too many of the exact same kind of friends.
If you show a seasoned institutional investor a cap table or a partnership deck filled with a tangled, heavily overlapping web of identical alliances, they see a glaring red flag.
Oh, hey.
They see a company that is fundamentally unfocused, politically paralyzed, and rapidly bleeding internal resources.
This challenges the myth that more friends equals an easier path. You're introducing the concept of network efficiency. Explain why a massive network is actually a liability.
Think about the fundamental utility of an alliance. Why are you entering into a legal partnership? You are doing it to extract information, capabilities, or resources that your organism lacks.
Like starting a rock band. If I'm a singer, I need a guitarist, a bassist, and a drummer.
Exactly. Now imagine you start a band and your strategy is just add more talent. So you hire 5 lead guitarists. You haven't hired a rhythm section. You just have 5 people who play the exact same instrument.
I don't have a band. I have a volume problem and a massive ego contest.
In the corporate ecosystem, if you blindly add the same type of ally, let's say you partner with 3 different massive pharmaceutical companies simultaneously, you create fatal information redundancy.
Because they all operate in the same markets, they read the same industry reports, they know the same regulatory frameworks.
Yes. The second and third pharma partners offer drastically diminishing returns on new knowledge. But the real danger isn't just redundancy, it is the staggering cost of internal conflict. This is where the researchers introduced a literal mathematical formula for survival.
I promised the listener we wouldn't read textbook formulas, so translate the math of social efficiency into brutal reality. How do you measure the cost of a friend?
Imagine every single alliance operates with a friction tax. You have to align legal teams, you have to hold weekly steering committees, your CEO has to fly out for dinners, you have to build firewalls to ensure partner A doesn't see what you're doing with partner B.
That sounds exhausting.
That is coordination cost. Every friend drains a finite pool of your startup's operational energy.
So every relationship is an active expense on my cognitive balance sheet.
Exactly. Social efficiency means getting the absolute maximum amount of diverse, heterogeneous resources for the absolute lowest coordination tax.
Okay, give me an example of a highly efficient network.
If you ally with one university, one specialized marketing firm, and one pharmaceutical company, you are extracting 3 completely different, non-overlapping resource pools: deep science, sales infrastructure, and clinical capital.
And because they operate in completely different spheres, they don't compete with each other. The marketing firm doesn't care about the university's pure science. The friction tax is near zero.
Exactly. They play different instruments, but if you partner with 3 pharma companies, you have engineered a nightmare. They are all competing for your limited lab time. They all want exclusive rights to your most promising patents.
Oh, wow.
They might be direct rivals with each other in the broader market, which means you are now caught in the middle of a proxy war.
My CEO isn't inventing anymore. My CEO is spending 80% of their week playing diplomat between three angry corporate giants.
And the coordination costs bleed the startup completely dry. The data isolates this beautifully. The golden return goes to startups with mathematically high network efficiency. The formula literally measures how little overlap exists in your contact list.
So less overlap is better.
Startups with highly efficient, non-redundant networks experience a massive leap in both revenue generation and patent output.
It's an operational hack.
Yeah.
You are buying the knowledge of the entire industry without inheriting any of the industry's drama.
You want a very small, tightly curated, perfectly diverse network on day one. Blind accumulation of partners is a symptom of a founder who doesn't actually know what resources they are missing.
Okay, so we know identical friends are fatal. We know government labs drag us into the abyss. We know we need a diverse mix of upstream and downstream partners. But what about the ultimate forbidden fruit of the business world?
Here we go.
What about your direct competitor?
The most dangerous game in the ecosystem.
Every founder has this fantasy. You launch a specialized tech startup, and immediately you want to rub shoulders with the giants in your exact vertical. You want to co-host webinars with them, join their consortiums, integrate with their platforms.
Everyone wants to sit at the big table.
But this data proves that allying with a direct competitor is almost always a form of slow corporate suicide.
It is the single most destructive configuration a typical startup can choose on day one.
But hold on, challenge that for a second. If I am building a new kind of artificial intelligence architecture today, don't I have to partner with the massive AI incumbents? I need their compute power. I need to see how the enterprise game is actually played. I need their industry secrets.
You do. And that desperate need is the bait for the trap. Researchers call this the dark current of the learning race. Startups are forced to approach their peers to acquire what is known as tacit knowledge.
Define tacit knowledge for the listener, because we aren't talking about something you can just read in an API documentation.
Tacit knowledge is the unwritten source code of an industry. It is the exact, undocumented temperature calibration of a bioreactor that makes the yield 20% higher.
Stuff you can't just Google.
Exactly. It is knowing exactly which mid-level bureaucrat at the FDA actually reads the applications. It is the muscle memory of the veteran engineers. You cannot read it. You can only absorb it by being in the room.
So I enter a joint venture with my massive competitor to get in the room.
Yes. But you fundamentally misunderstand the nature of the relationship. This is not a partnership. It is a biological parasite.
Wait, who is the parasite?
The giant competitor is the parasite. You view them as a mentor or a distribution channel. They view you as an outsourced, uncompensated R&D department that they can cannibalize at their leisure.
Let me hit the listener with the hard data on this, because the numbers deliver a cold, unforgiving judgment. Every single competitive ally you add to your network suppresses your innovation capability.
Radically suppresses it.
The researchers ran the models, controlling for every possible variable. Having a rival ally on day one showed a massive negative pull on revenue, R&D intensity, and patent output. It is a dark multiplier.
It actively destroys your future value.
Walk me through the mechanics of that destruction. How does a partnership with a larger competitor literally stop my scientists from filing patents?
Because biological competition in high-tech and biotech is a winner-take-all battle for intellectual property. The crown of patents only fits on one head. There is absolutely no financial reward for filing the second patent on a revolutionary drug.
Or the second patent on a novel search algorithm, the pure monopoly game.
Exactly. And intellectual property protection is incredibly porous in the early stages. Ideas are half-formed. When you ally with a competitor, you are forced into collaborative spaces. You share preliminary lab notes. You discuss theoretical frameworks during a Tuesday steering committee.
Let's use a specific example. Imagine I've spent 3 years perfecting a novel data scraping algorithm. I partner with a massive tech giant for quote-unquote synergy. During a routine technical alignment meeting, my lead engineer casually mentions a specific bottleneck we bypassed using a unique caching method.
Stop right there. That is the exact moment of doubt.
Really? Just from mentioning a caching method?
They don't even need your source code. They just needed that one missing conceptual variable. Your massive competitor has an army of engineers, billions in compute power, and a legion of aggressive IP lawyers. They take your half-formed idea, inject $100 million into it, finish the development in 2 weeks, and patent the underlying architecture before you even draft the application.
I invite them into my kitchen to show them my recipe, they memorize the secret ingredient, and they open a massive franchise across the street.
And then their lawyers send you a cease and desist letter for trying to cook your own dish.
That is sickening. So
Totally.
every competitor you add suppresses your innovation because they are actively siphoning the ideas right out of your head.
They win the learning race, they have massive absorptive capacity, they extract your specialized cutting-edge knowledge significantly faster than you can extract their broad, tacit industry knowledge. Once they have mapped your core tech, your utility to them drops to zero.
Wow.
The alliance hollows you out and discards the shell.
So the logical takeaway for a founder is complete isolation from rivals. If competitors are great white sharks, the small fish should just stay in the absolute shallows. Never engage. Build in stealth mode forever.
That is the instinct of a terrified founder. But the data reveals a secondary hidden mechanic. A small fish can swim with the great white sharks. In fact, a tiny specialized startup can actively tame a massive corporate predator.
Tame the shark.
How? Ensuring their deck of cards is completely, uncompromisingly pure. This introduces the most powerful conceptual weapon in the entire study: relative scope.
Relative scope. So we're talking about the power scale of the game. I always assumed being a small startup meant being inherently weak in a negotiation.
That is the great illusion of corporate scale. We blindly equate size with power. But in a learning race, massive size is actually a cognitive vulnerability if it translates to distraction.
Okay, unpack that.
Relative scope is a mathematical ratio. It compares how many specific subsectors your startup operates in versus how many subsectors your giant partner operates in.
Explain this visually. Give me the analogy.
Let's look at the extremes. Imagine your startup is a master watchmaker. You do one thing. You engineer a microscopic, highly specific gear for mechanical watches. Your focus is absolute. Your scope ratio is razor thin. Now you partner with a massive auto manufacturing conglomerate.
Okay.
They make sedans, trucks, batteries, windshields. They have 100,000 employees. Their scope is infinitely broad.
Okay, so I am a surgical laser, and they are a massive floodlight.
Exactly. And that extreme asymmetry, being the laser against the floodlight, creates a protective umbrella over your core technology.
But why? Why doesn't the massive auto plant just steal the design of my tiny gear? They've billions of dollars.
Because they literally lack the specialized cognitive bandwidth to absorb it. They are a generalized, diversified machine. Their scientists and engineers are spread across 50 different massive initiatives.
Right. They aren't focused on tiny gears.
When they look closely at your intensely complex, highly specialized biological enzyme or your microscopic watch gear, they do not have the granular foundational knowledge to reverse engineer it efficiently.
Oh, wow. They are literally too big to understand me.
Yes, they lack what researchers call the absorptive capacity for your extreme niche. The giant competitor looks at your tech and does a brutal internal calculation. It would take us 3 years, $50 million, and we'd have to retrain an entire division of scientists just to understand the baseline physics of what this startup does naturally. It is infinitely cheaper and faster to just pay them for the license.
So my purity acts as an impenetrable shield.
Where purity makes you indigestible, it allows for a completely safe exchange of resources. You can take their massive venture capital check, you can leverage their global distribution network, and you never have to lose sleep over them cannibalizing your core tech. Your intellectual property is written in a language they simply do not have the time or focus to translate.
This umbrella of asymmetry completely flips the math. The data point on this slide is incredible. When a startup possesses this extreme scope asymmetry, when they are purely specialized and their partners broadly diversified, it turns the dark multiplier of a competitive alliance into a massive positive boost.
Yep.
The learning race stops being a threat and becomes a genuine synergy.
But the inverse must also be true, right?
Oh, absolutely. If you are a generalist startup, if you try to build a platform that does 5 different things mediocrely and you partner with a generalist giant,
You are dead.
completely dead. They will effortlessly absorb all 5 of your mediocre features and replicate them by next quarter. Your purity dictates whether you get eaten or get paid.
Be so fiercely specialized that the shark physically chokes on you if it tries to swallow. That is brilliant.
It is the ultimate leverage of the small.
Okay, so we've cracked the code on surviving a giant. We must maintain absolute strategic purity. But this leads us to the final and arguably most mind-bending paradox of the entire deep dive: Paradox 5.
The safe zone of the apex predator.
This is the finding that shatters the egos of most founders.
It really does.
Let me set up the conventional wisdom. If I am forced to ally with a competitor to get industry access and I've ensured my specialized purity, I still want to minimize my risk. I should look for the dumbest giant available, right? That's what everyone thinks.
I want to ally with a big, slow, lumbering dinosaur of a company, a massive corporation that has a lot of cash but hasn't invented anything relevant in a decade. I want to be the smartest person in the room so I can easily outmaneuver them.
And the data shows that instinct will march you directly into the grave. Allying with a lagging, technologically weak competitor is a death sentence. The absolute safest place for your startup to be is locked in the jaws of the most terrifying, highly innovative apex predator in your industry.
That fundamentally breaks my brain. Why would I intentionally walk into the den of the company that has the most aggressive lawyers and the most brilliant scientists? The apex predator is the most capable of breaking through my umbrella of asymmetry.
Because a weak partner is a sinking ship. If you chain your brand new startup to a sinking ship on day one, you will drown with them.
But at least the weak partner can't steal my tech.
They don't have to steal your tech to kill you. Their sheer gravity will do it. Let's look at the mechanics of what a weak, lagging competitor actually brings to a partnership. They have no forward momentum. They have no cutting-edge tacit knowledge because they aren't on the frontier anymore. They have declining prestige.
They just have an old bank account.
Exactly. When you enter a learning race with a weak competitor, they have absolutely nothing of value to teach you. All they can do is aggressively try to siphon your fresh ideas to save their dying core business. The weak competitor is actually far more likely to act like a desperate parasite because they are starving.
And the apex predator is well fed.
The apex predator is leading the pack. Yes, the competitive risk is technically higher, but your specialized purity protects you. Now look at what the apex predator provides. The researchers call it massive technological spillover.
Break that down. What spills over?
Everything. The sheer volume of knowledge, prestige, and operational momentum that radiates from a top-tier rival completely overwhelms the danger of competition. When you partner with the undisputed king of the hill, your startup absorbs world-class routines. Your engineers see how the absolute best lab in the world operates. You get access to the most advanced proprietary datasets.
And the signaling power to the rest of the market must be astronomical.
It is an unparalleled stamp of validation. If the apex predator trusts your specialized enzyme, every venture capitalist on Earth assumes you are the real deal. It instantly de-risks your company for future funding.
The researchers map this out with a terrifyingly clear visualization. They track the ultimate trajectory of these startups over 5 years, and it reveals a completely binary outcome. There is no middle ground. There is no doing okay in this ecosystem.
It is a vertical climb or a cliff dive.
If your day one network forces you to ally with broad, uninnovative competitors, the slow dinosaurs, your performance is completely destroyed. The graph flatlines immediately, and within years, revenue and patent output plummet. You are crushed by the dead weight.
What?
But if you have the bravery to specialize deeply, walk right up to the apex predator and forge an alliance, you trigger an innovation storm.
The graph literally goes exponential. The interaction between your pure specialization and the giant's massive patent engine creates an unprecedented explosion in your core capabilities. You don't just survive, you look down on the rest of the industry from the absolute peak.
You have a profound realization. Your safety isn't found in hiding from the best. Your safety is found in being so purely valuable that the best are forced to elevate you.
Weak partners pull you into the mud. Strong partners pull you into the stratosphere.
Which brings us to the final, inescapable conclusion of this deep dive. We have unpacked the survival combination lock. We've talked about choosing commercial pharma over pure science government labs. We've explored the mathematical necessity of diverse, non-overlapping networks to save coordination costs. We've revealed the dark trap of the learning race and how to use specialized purity to safely ride the apex predator.
But the most crucial element of this entire study, the factor that makes this a matter of life and death, is the timing.
The inescapable genetic stamp. We are talking about path dependency. The terrifying truth is that a network configuration mistake made on day one cannot be fixed.
It cannot.
Even if you realize your error, even if you fire your CEO, even if you inject $50 million of late-stage venture capital into the company 5 years later, you cannot buy your way out of your origin story.
This is the hardest pill for modern founders to swallow. The entire Silicon Valley ethos is built on the religion of the pivot. We are taught that as long as you are agile, as long as you iterate quickly, you can outrun any mistake. But the ecosystem does not forget.
Explain the funnel of evolution. How does a day one mistake become permanent?
The network you establish at your founding places a permanent, lifelong genetic stamp on your organizational behavior. Let's say you start with a highly redundant, inefficient network of identical partners, or you align with a toxic government lab. In those critical first 2 years, your company evolves to survive in that specific dysfunctional environment.
I build internal processes to manage the chaos.
Exactly. Your legal team gets really good at managing petty conflicts between redundant partners. Your scientists get comfortable with the slow, uncommercial pacing of the government lab. You literally hardwire bad habits into the DNA of your corporate culture.
So when I try to pivot later, my own company resists it.
Your internal routines are warped. You are unfit for the highly competitive, high-velocity real world. And worse than your internal dysfunction is the external market memory. The ecosystem watches you.
Because I spent my first 3 years floundering with weak allies, the strong allies have already judged me.
Startups that fail to build efficient, powerful networks immediately are permanently marginalized. They are pushed to the fringes of the ecosystem. When they finally realize they need an apex predator or a massive pharma company, they make the call. And the apex predator looks like their track record years of slow development, redundant partnerships, no cutting-edge patents, and they hang up the phone.
You cannot attract a world-class partner with a third-class history.
No amount of late-stage money can fix a company whose DNA was corrupted by a toxic network on day one. The die is cast the moment you incorporate.
So what does this all mean for you? You, the founder, the operator, the strategist listening to this right now. We have been deep in the trenches of Canadian biotech data from the 1990s. It sounds like ancient history, it sounds analog, but drag this framework directly into the modern world. Think about today's digital landscape. Think about the explosive, chaotic ecosystem of artificial intelligence startups right now.
The underlying mathematical reality hasn't changed a single digit.
It hasn't. The brutal logic is identical. We see it playing out in real time. Capital, technology, and commercial relationships flow exclusively to the most efficient, highly specialized nodes in the network. If you are building an AI company today, and you honestly believe that your brilliant large language model or your clever new algorithm means you can fight alone in your garage, you are already dead.
You are just nameless organic fertilizer for the broader ecosystem.
You will be systematically crushed by a competitor with an objectively inferior product, but a perfectly calibrated network efficiency. While you are sitting in isolation, polishing a piece of code nobody will ever see, they will have secured the non-redundant cloud computing alliance, the highly specialized data labeling partnership, and the massive enterprise distribution channel. They will own the ecosystem before you even launch your beta.
Survival is not a coding competition. It is an ecological war. It always has been.
We started this conversation talking about the clarity of medical x-rays, about the comforting precision of seeing the exact, jagged white line of a broken bone, the comfort of knowing exactly why something failed. What this data does is hand you the x-ray for your own business. It completely strips away the marketing mud. It shows you the stark, undeniable skeletal structure of success and failure.
And that entire structure is built bone by bone out of the people and organizations you choose to connect with on the very day you begin.
So as you go back to your desk or your garage or your next board meeting, pull out your phone. Look at your own day one contact list. Who are you actively allying with today? Are they a toxic angel slowly pulling you under? Are they a redundant drain on your energy? Or are they the apex predator that will violently drag you to the top of your industry? Look closely at your network because the clock is already ticking, the learning race has already started, and your genetic stamp is already drying.
And once it dries, there's absolutely no going back.
Until next time, keep diving deep.